Former FBI Director James Comey getting dragged through the same process he once put Martha Stewart through. Pleading not guilty in his first court appearance. The charges, obstruction and making false statements to Congress back in 2020. The trial's locked in for Jan 6th, the day before that terrible January 6th. And the media is already acting like it's the second coming of Watergate.
Not since Watergate, Anna, have we seen a president weaponize the Justice Department to go after his political rivals.
This is one of the most significant cases in America's 249-year history. A president of the United States directed that one of his opponents be prosecuted because he didn't like that individual.
This is an effort by the president to use the power of the federal government to muzzle somebody he doesn't like. Right. The legal case is simply a way to get Jim Comey to shut up.
These guys are great, Jesse. Isn't the whole point of this really, it's not really the conviction, it's the process, which many innocent Republicans, and I'll even throw Martha Stewart, had to go through because of that guy's ambition. So maybe he should go through the process he put everybody else through.
Yeah, and the process is expensive, and it's depressing, and I wouldn't mind seeing a conviction, because you can't just lie to Congress. All these Democrats in Congress are saying, people come in and lie to us all the time. We never charge them. Well, what are you doing? You're saying you're okay with coming into Congress and being lied to? You're conducting an investigation on January 6th. You're okay if Republicans come in and lie? You're okay if Fauci comes in and lies about the lab leak. You're okay with that? They were conducting an investigation on the Russia hoax. And James Comey, the FBI director, lied to Congress, who's conducting oversight, who are trying to get to the bottom of how this happened, and he lied about it. And if you're okay with that, then Congress is a joke, that we don't have a country. Then this is whole thing. You go in, you put your hand up, and you say, I swear, and you just go in and lie. Then this is the stupidest government of all time. Eric Trump was asked a question. He had a great response the other day, Greg. Someone asked him, if it was all these bad things were so bad did to your dad, why are you doing all these bad things back? He said, what have we done? We didn't raid Biden's house. We didn't arrest him in 4 states. We didn't leak his tax returns or make up some phony dossier or a story about how he had a secret server in his basement that was connected to the Kremlin. We didn't do any of that. We charged one guy, James Comey. That's it so far.
I saw that exchange. It was quite impressive. Martha, I think the Dems like to call this revenge. I don't really care what they call it. This is not revenge if it's real, and also it's mutually assured destruction. This is to make sure you don't do it again to us.
I think you're right, and I think what you said initially is correct. I think there's a desire to see him go through the process. I think that the part of the case that he was indicted on has to do with the Clinton Foundation specifically. And Andy McCarthy has said he doesn't know if this charge will hold up. We saw today that Comey's attorney said that they're going to try, I think, 5 or 6 elements of trying to get the case dismissed. But what you saw today is Comey drawn in this lovely picture, standing up in court. You see him in this sort of, sappy video talking about how he will stand up to anyone and anything. And it really does. I have to wonder what my, we share a name. So people who name Martha, it's kind of, it's kind of an old fashioned name. So you have a little bit of a connection with that person. But Martha Stewart was put through hell.
Right.
Because at the time she was being vilified. She was like this perfect woman, writing all these cookbooks, showing everyone how to live their perfect life. Then SNL and other places started turning on her. So she became sort of vilified at the moment. And that was when James Comey decided to bust her for insider trading, for lying to investigate. Not for insider trading. I should be clear on this. Not for insider trading. They didn't get her on that. Everyone thinks that's why she went to prison. But she went to prison for obstruction and lying to FBI officials when they came to talk to her. And he threw the book at her. And it made him famous. And then he became the FBI director. So you have to wonder how it feels when the shoe is put on the other foot. And that is a big part of what is happening to James Comey today.
I'm looking at the sketch. He made him into like a Robert Urich. Remember Robert Urich?
A little bit Robert Urich-ish.
Yeah. Harold, is Hillary secretly thrilled over this?
I hope not. I'm built a little different.
You certainly are.
When President Trump was running for office the second time, and people asked him about retribution, if he would go after some of his political opponents, he said, success will be our retribution. And although I didn't vote for President Trump, I believed him. He's given me reason to doubt and not believe now. The Truth Social posting he had a few weeks ago where he implored his Attorney General and his FBI Director to go after certain people, I think will be used, Martha, by his legal team, Mr. Comey's legal team. Don't misconstrue. I'm not defending Mr. Comey's past. I think there are things he did in his past that I disagree with, including one or two examples that have already been raised. But in this instance here, his lawyer, Mr. Fitzgerald, will defend him, and they're going to have a very fast trial. January 6th, we differ on that date. It's interesting on January 6th, President Trump said he couldn't send the National Guard in that day, but he figured out how to get him to Portland and Memphis and Chicago.
Didn't Nancy block it?
Yeah,
Yes,
he asked
Nancy
for it. It was
blocked
blocked. That's a known fact.
He's a rooster blocker.
Harold.
You're wrong. But let's say you're right. You're wrong.
I'm right.
But let's
Thank you.
just say you're right. The president, if he's able to send them into Portland and Memphis and everywhere else when the governors don't want it, and able to send Texas's National Guard to Chicago, my only point is, you know what I'm saying. Now, when it comes to retribution, after World War II, after we fought valiantly, what did we do after World War II? We rebuilt Europe. Why? Because it was a smart, practical, visionary thing to do. When President Obama was elected and President George W. Bush and Mr. Cheney were still having legal issues about whether the war that we went into was justified or not, Obama said, let all that be gone. Let it be bye-bye. We don't need to deal with those things. I just think we reach a point where if retribution and this kind of payback is what we want, then the precedent that we're setting, and I know President Trump says they came after me. Everybody can point to somebody coming after them. If all we did as a country was to go after slights or to try to pay back slights,
Harold,
because
it's easy for you to say after you took everybody out.
I didn't take anybody out.
You took out his whole inner circle.
First of all, I didn't take anybody out.
The Democrats did.
You know what? He won the presidency. You got it all. What are you doing? Be a leader and unite us. Don't seek this retribution, Mr. President.
I guess I want to follow up on what Harold's talking about is that it doesn't really matter if you go after them or not because the Dems will always come for you no matter what. Isn't that kind of
did.
Yes, isn't that kind of the point?
They used Comey provided the basis for the entire Democratic wing of the federal government to go after President Trump, not even the federal government, in states, in cities, in Georgia, in New York City, and everywhere else they could find a venue, they went after him, and they were the ones out for vengeance. And Comey thought that if he was fired and used his little friends to go to the New York Times and leak some stories, that he was going to get Trump impeached and he was going to upend his presidency so he would get thrown out of office and never have any power in this country again because he would be neutered and embarrassed. So when people on MSNBC talk about the weaponization of government and this is worse than Watergate, then I hope you do, in fact, go back and look at the facts of Comey's predication and you realize the flimsy case that he had foisted upon all of us and upon this president because of a need for personal vengeance and retribution. And this whole thing was ginned up from the Clinton campaign as an I'm sorry note to Hillary Clinton for his late in the game realization that there was some stuff on her server that might have been untoward, and she feels that that cost her the election. So this whole thing was a way of undoing the Trump presidency because Comey always represented the establishment on both sides, especially the deeply entrenched part of it. They hated Trump. They hate Trump. They hate everything he stands for because he spoke directly to people who should have been subservient to the Democratic wing of our government, and they refused. For the first time, they threw off the yoke and voted for someone they felt would stand up for them. And that's what Comey tried to stand up against. And you know what? I'm happy to see all this happening. And I hope they go after Clapper, and I hope they go after all the other people who were working in concert with one another to throw this guy out of office. And it really says something about this country that voters were able to look past all of that, all the vengeance and all the trials and all the witch hunts, and put this guy in power once again, because for them, he was the only one who spoke to the forgotten voter.
That's why he won, and he should not be a sore winner, be a leader for the country.
All right, you two. Gee whiz.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.